She said she didn't want to go out. Then her friend accidentally tagged her in a nightclub story. On the nights when Lena said the air felt too loud, I made the apartment quiet for her. Tea with honey, lights dimmed to the warmest setting, phone face down. She'd sit on the end of the couch with her knees up and say she didn't like going out because people had elbows and shouting and motives. I'm not a club person, she would tell me, as if clubs were a species. I believed her. I wanted to. I liked being the person who could lower the volume of the world. That Friday started with rain and ended with the kind of sky that pretends it never happened. I got home a little early, groceries hanging off my fingers, the strap of the bag biting a red line into my wrist. Lena was in my hoodie, hair in a loose knot, a blanket slung like a cape. She looked small in that curated way that makes you feel protective. My head is buzzing, she said. Marta is asking if I want to get food, but I think I'll go to my mom's. She's baking some weird poppy seed thing. I want the smell, she said it apologetically, like I would be disappointed that she wasn't choosing me. It's fine, I told her, unloading basil and lemons and eggs. I'll make pasta and catch up on work. Tell Oksana I said hi. She packed a tote bag in the bedroom with the door half closed. Charger, sweater, the bottle of lavender oil she rolled onto her wrists when the anxiety got sharp. She kissed me at the door like it was a promise. I just need a reset, she said. Movie night with mom. Don't wait up. I watched her ride the elevator down and felt that soft, familiar ache of wanting to take care of someone who doesn't want to be taken anywhere, not even out of their own mind. I put water on to boil and scrolled through a spreadsheet that wasn't getting cleaner. The building hummed with neighbors and delivery men and someone's thin music through the wall. After dinner, I rinsed the pan, wiped the counter, put the plate in the dishwasher like a person whose life fits in his cabinets. I sent her a text. Kiss emoji, sleep well. And a minute later, my phone buzzed with a story at the top of the screen, the little ring igniting around Marta's profile picture. I wasn't going to tap it. I don't watch stories from people I barely know. But the preview froze just long enough to show a chandelier like a glass storm, purple light, a hand with a paper wristband catching the strobe. The caption was nonsense letters. Volt! I tapped. The video shook with bass. People were packed tight, faces lifting in the on-off lightning of the club, sweat shining like a filter. The camera swung, blurred, and then landed for a heartbeat on Lena's face. She was laughing with her head tipped back, her hair differently loose, not in a knot, but in soft waves that were never for home. She wore a black top I hadn't seen, thin straps, a low back. Her wrist flashed the paper bracelet. Her eyes glowed the way they do when she's pretending not to like something she loves. The story snapped to the next segment, a DJ I recognized only because Lena had once pointed him out on Instagram. Dima, he used to date my friend. And then Marta's glittery nails in a cheers with 3 other hands, one of which had Lena's thin ring, the one she bought herself after a raise. The name of the club burned on a wall in somebody's font, V-O-L-T. My body did the thing where it suddenly feels like you're both too hot and too cold. Maybe they had grabbed dinner and walked past, I told myself. Maybe Marta was recycling old clips. Maybe it was a filter that looks like Lena, or a cruel trick of angles. The brain is a factory for generous explanations when love is the client. I watched again. It wasn't old. In the corner, the timestamp caught the phone's midnight setting. 22:19. Today, the paper wristband was new, cut crisp, and the thing that finally knocked the air out of my lungs. Behind Lena, briefly, a face I had seen before, on Slack profile pictures and a corporate all-hands stream. Serhi, her manager. He was blurred, then gone. My mouth tasted metallic. I set my phone down like it might explode. I stood by the sink, my hands on the cool edge, and listened to the apartment. The faucet dripped once. A siren floated somewhere far. If I called Lena, she would let it ring and then text, "Can I call later?" Mom fell asleep. If I texted Marta, I'd open a door I wasn't ready to walk through. Instead, I opened my contacts and tapped Oksana. She picked up on the second ring, her voice carrying kitchen in it. "Evan, hi. Everything okay?" "Hi, Oksana. Sorry to bother you. Is Lena there?" A pause. Not long, but longer than a lie should take to find itself. She left earlier. She said she wasn't feeling well, so she went home to you." I didn't say anything. The silence opened like a hinge. "Is she not with you?" Oksana asked, her voice changing, metal flushing into it. "She said she was going to you," I said. "Oh," Oksana said. Then, because she is who she is, "Where is she?" "I don't know," I answered. And in the space after the truth, we stood on opposite ends of a wire. "I'll talk to her when she gets back." "Don't worry." "I am worried," Oksana said. "I don't like the dark." "Me neither," I said. And we said goodnight like two people agreeing on a fact that didn't warm us. I walked through the apartment, and the rooms felt like they had someone hiding in them. Lena's perfume trailed in the hall, sweet and citrus. In the bathroom, her makeup pouch lay open, the mascara still wet on the brush like a sentence mid-air. On the arm of the couch, a sparkling dust clung to the fabric. Glitter. Bright points no broom invented by man can fully remove. It was not from the lavender oil. I brushed it with a knuckle and it stuck. I opened our closet. On the inside shelf, where she sometimes shoved receipts and hair ties, a pale loop of paper peeked out, the tail of a snake. I lifted 2 scarves and found a used wristband, torn from a night I hadn't known about. Volt printed in a font trying too hard. I put it on the shelf like an object in a museum exhibit titled Artifacts of a Parallel Relationship. The impulse to call, to demand, to set the room on fire with how dare you. It burned up and burned out inside me. I realized I wanted something else more than I wanted a fight. I wanted the truth in a form that could stand on its own legs, that wouldn't stagger under the weight of her stories. I wanted to know I wasn't crazy, and the only thing that quiets that kind of doubt is evidence. You cannot argue with timestamps. You cannot gaslight a bank notification. I sat at the table and pulled my laptop closer. The keys felt heavier, like each one was a choice. I opened my messages and saved Marta's story. I took screenshots, not because I planned to send them anywhere yet, but because I wanted to keep the moment from evaporating. I clicked through Lena's Instagram. Empty tonight, a repost from a dog rescue earlier in the day, and then to her TikTok, where the silence was louder. I wasn't looking for a confession. I was building a timeline. The kettle clicked as it cooled and startled me like a hand on my shoulder. I stood and poured water I didn't need into a mug I didn't want. At the counter, I could see our reflection in the black window, the kitchen lights painting us into the night. I looked like someone who had been handed a test he hadn't studied for and decided to study anyway. All night, pencil in his teeth, eyes red. At 11, Lena texted, "Mom is asleep. I'm going to stay here tonight. Love you." The heart she added had less color than usual, as if even the emoji had run out of blood. I typed back, "Love you too." Sleep. My hands were steady, which scared me more than shaking would have. I opened our shared ride receipts. Months ago, when she'd had her phone stolen, she'd asked me to add her account to my profile so she could book in a pinch. She'd never removed it. There were trips labeled Lena's work, Lena's home, and a few with addresses that were neither. Tonight's showed pending. Pick up near our building at 2141. Drop off at an address that, when I pasted it into a map, resolved into a street 3 blocks from Volt's entrance. I stared at the blue dot and the red pin and felt my face go very still. I don't know when I started narrating in my head like I was telling a future forum a story. I guess the mistake was believing her the first dozen times she said she hated crowds. Maybe I was rehearsing for witnesses. Maybe I only wanted to hear my voice not break when I said it out loud. I saved the receipt as a PDF. I created a folder called Friday, and then changed it to Volt, and then changed it again to something soft and ridiculous like weekend plans, as if I could trick my own heart into not noticing. I sat back and pressed my hands over my face and smelled dish soap and lemon and a little sweat. The window reflected a person I recognized, calm as an instrument, almost anesthetized. At midnight, the apartment downstairs began to play a song I knew from Lena's playlist, the one she always insisted she didn't actually like. It's ironic. The bass came through the floor like someone knocking hollow on my chest. The city beyond the glass was a scattered galaxy of other people's lives. I picked up my phone, opened the Notes app, and wrote the first line of a list. 2007 said, "Going to Mom's for reset." 2141 ride booked from our building to address. 2219 Marta's story. Volt, Lena scene, wristband, Serhi possibly in frame. 2230. Oksana says Lena left earlier, not at her place. I stared at the last line until the letters stopped meaning anything and became shapes. Then I added, "Call log with Oksana saved." It felt clinical, like I was charting a patient. Maybe I was. When the phone buzzed again, Marta this time, a single dot typing, then stopping, then starting, the skin on my hands prickled. She sent nothing. The dots vanished. I could see her thinking, deciding if she had permission to be honest with me. I didn't type first. The silence was useful. Silence makes other people hear themselves. At some hour between 1 and 2, the rain started again, as if the sky had remembered its role. I turned off the kitchen light and let the apartment go dark. The city's glow was enough to keep my list legible. I didn't feel like I was losing Lena. It felt like I was finding the absence she'd been shaping between us for months. You don't notice the hole while it's being dug. You notice it when you step into it at night and stop falling just long enough to measure the depth. I slept for a while on the couch with the blanket she'd worn earlier. and it smelled like her, and like some citrus-slicked perfume I couldn't name. When I woke up, the kettle light had come on again somehow, a LED glitch blinking like a metronome. I stood, stretched the ache out of my back, and opened the laptop. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to throw anything or give her the scene she could point to and say, "See, you're the problem." I was going to learn what she did, when she did it, and with whom, and keep those facts where they couldn't be edited. I was going to turn the night into a timeline. The morning light made the apartment look smaller, like the walls had crept in during the night. My phone was face down on the table where I'd left it, the list in my notes app still open. Lena's side of the bed was cold, the pillow unpressed. I poured coffee and sat with the steam curling into my face, trying to look at it the way you look at fog, accepting that you can't see through it yet. At 9:12, my phone buzzed. Lena. Mom's still not feeling great. I'm gonna stay with her till later. Did you eat? I could picture her, hair tied up again, sitting cross-legged at her mom's table, lying into the phone with that casual rhythm she'd perfected. I typed, "Yeah, made coffee. Hope she feels better." I added a heart I didn't feel and hit send. I wasn't ready to signal anything. I opened our ride history again. Last night's trip was still there, now marked as completed. Arrival at 21:58. I zoomed into the street view and recognized the facade near Volt, the peeling brick wall with graffiti that I'd walked past before. If she'd been at Marta's, she would have gone in the opposite direction entirely. Something on the couch caught the light. Glitter again. Different from the specks I'd brushed off last night. This was chunkier, like confetti. I pinched a piece between my fingers and set it on a folded receipt I'd found in the trash. The ink on the paper was fresh. Cocktails, 2 with prices that belonged in a place with a cover charge. Time stamped 22:07. By 10, I'd decided to start sorting what I had. A folder on my laptop labeled Weekend Plans now had subfolders: photos, receipts, messages. It felt obsessive, but each item was a nail in the structure. Nails don't care if the carpenter is hurt. At 10:32, a new message from Marta lit the screen. "Can we talk? It's important." I stared at it for a moment, wondering if this was an apology or a warning. I typed back, "When and where?" She sent the address of a small cafe 2 blocks from her apartment. None. When I got there, Marta was already at a table in the corner, her phone face down like she didn't trust it. She looked tired in a way makeup couldn't hide. Her nails, still glittery from last night, tapped against her cup. "I didn't mean for you to see that," she said immediately. "Well, not exactly. I'm tired of covering for her. It's not fair to you." I let her talk. "She goes out more than she says. She's been saying it's girls' nights, but it's not just girls. Sometimes it's Serhi, sometimes others. She says she doesn't like crowds, but that's just something she tells you. I think she likes the rush of lying more than the nights themselves." Marta's mouth twisted like she hated herself for saying it. "Why are you telling me now?" I asked. Her eyes dropped to her coffee. "Because last night she told me she was staying at your place after. And then I saw her laughing with Serhi at the bar. I thought about how you look when she says she's going to her mom's. You believe her every time. I couldn't keep doing it." She slid her phone across the table. On the screen, a folder of screenshots. Group chat messages, photos, tags that never made it to public stories. In one, Lena wrote, "Evan's my safe base. He never asks. That's how it should be." The timestamp was from 2 weeks ago. I kept my voice steady. "Can you send me all of these?" Marta nodded. "I already did. Check your email." There was one photo I couldn't look away from. Taken in the club, Lena mid-laugh, Serhi's hand on her lower back. It wasn't the touch itself that stopped me. It was her expression. Not caught off guard, not resisting, just comfortable, like this was familiar. "I'm sorry," Marta said again. "I should have told you sooner." I thanked her. I meant it, even if it came out flat. Back at my apartment, I opened the email. The attachments came in like a drip feed, each one confirming what I'd already accepted in the quiet part of my mind. I organized them into the timeline. 21:41, ride from our building to Volt Street. 21:58, arrival recorded by Ride app. 22:07, bar receipt, 2 cocktails. 22:19, Marta's story with Lena in frame. 22:23, group chat message, "The set is insane tonight." 22:35, photo of Lena with Serhi. I added a section for patterns, other nights from the past month with similar routes and receipts. Around 2, Lena texted, "Should I grab anything on my way home?" On my way home. Not from mom's, just home. I typed, "No, I'm good. See you soon." Then I sat at the table, the apartment too still, and realized I wasn't preparing for a confrontation. I was preparing for a deposition, and the witness list was getting longer. Lena came back just before 5, the hallway lights spilling in around her like she'd stepped out of a warmer, louder place. She had that post-outing looseness in her shoulders, hair in the same knot she'd left with, but fresher makeup than yesterday. I was on the couch with my laptop open, an empty coffee cup beside me. "How's your mom?" I asked, casual, not looking up right away. "She's better," Lena said, dropping her tote near the door. "We just watched old movies. She made me eat half the kitchen. I'm so full." She came over, leaned down, kissed me lightly. Her perfume was sharper today, notes of something I didn't recognize. She flopped onto the couch beside me and scrolled through her phone, her thumb moving quick, screen tilted slightly away. I asked her if Marta had been in touch. She didn't flinch, didn't pause. "Oh, she texted about brunch next week." "Why?" "Just wondering." She put her phone down, stretched her legs over mine. "You're quiet today." I smiled like someone who was just tired. "Didn't sleep well." We ordered takeout, ate in the glow of the TV. She kept looking at me sideways like she was trying to read a language she'd forgotten. At one point she said, "You know I hate clubs, right? The music gives me migraines." It came out of nowhere, and my fork paused halfway to my mouth. "I know," I said, letting the words just sit there between us. That night, when she fell asleep, I slipped out of bed and pulled her tote closer. At the bottom, under a crumpled sweater, was a lipstick in a shade she'd never worn around me. Deep red, the kind that photographs well in dim light. There was also a small stack of cash, folded tight. I took a picture of both, put them back exactly as I'd found them. The next day was Sunday, and she left early, saying she needed to prep for the week at a cafe near her work. I waited 20 minutes, then grabbed my jacket and followed. Not right to the cafe, just close enough to see if she went in. She didn't. She turned the corner, phone to her ear, smile spilling across her face. I stayed far back, letting her vanish into the crowd. I texted Marta. "Where is she?" It took 3 minutes for the reply. "Volt again. With Serhi." Then, "Do you want me to get photos?" "Yes," I typed. An hour later, my phone lit up with images. Lena leaning on the bar, Serhi's arm brushing hers. Her eyes bright, posture open, nothing guarded about it. One shot caught her mid-laugh, head thrown back, and I recognized the deep red lipstick. That night, I called my friend Maxim, who works as a DJ in another part of the city. "You ever heard of a guy named Dima at Volt?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "Used to be bigger. Now mostly does Fridays." "Why? Was he with someone named Lena lately?" There was a pause. "Dark hair, small, sharp eyes." "Yeah, I've seen her a couple times. Always with the tall dude. Your girlfriend's boss?" My throat felt tight. "Yeah, she seems to know everyone there," he added. Not just him. By Monday morning, my weekend plans folder had turned into a full dossier. Every piece of it painted the same picture. Lena had built a parallel life and staffed it with people who didn't mind being extras in her cover story. I wasn't angry in the way I'd expected. I felt like I was cataloging an extinct animal, each fact a bone laid out in a careful line. The difference was this animal was still breathing, and it didn't know I was watching. You said, Part 4. ChatGPT said, by Wednesday, she must have sensed the air between us changing because she came home early, carrying a paper bag from the bakery near her office. Croissants. Warm enough that the bag was almost damp with butter. She set them on the table like an offering. I had the weirdest day, she said, kicking off her shoes. Serhi's been acting strange, following me around the office, asking if I'm okay. I think he's obsessed or something. I kept my eyes on my laptop. Obsessed how? She sank into the chair across from me. Like, if HR asks, can you just say I was with you last Friday night? I don't want rumors starting. You know how offices are. The fork in my chest twisted. I leaned back, studying her face. Why would HR be asking where you were Friday night? Her gaze flicked down, then back up. Because someone said I was at Volt with him, which is ridiculous. You know I hate that place. She laughed lightly, but it didn't reach her eyes. I nodded slowly. And you want me to lie for you? It's not lying, she said too quickly. It's just protecting me from office politics. I closed the laptop. You've been asking me to protect you from a lot of things lately. Her jaw tightened, but she forced a smile. I just need you to trust me. Trust. The word hit like a key that didn't fit the lock anymore. That night, she fell asleep with her phone under her pillow. When her breathing settled into the slow, even rhythm of deep sleep, I slid it out carefully. It was her other phone, the one I'd never seen her use around me. No lock screen, just a swipe to open. The messages were a different world. Group chats with names like night owls, conversations full of club flyers, drink orders, plans. In one, a selfie from 2 nights ago at Volt. Lena with Marta and 2 men I didn't know. No Serhi in that one. No me, anywhere. I sent the most damning shots to my own phone, then slid hers back under her pillow. The next day, Marta texted again. She's mad at me. Says I've been stirring trouble. I told her about the HR alibi request. Marta replied almost instantly. She's been bragging about that in the group chat. Said you'll cover for her because you owe her loyalty. By Friday, the folder wasn't just full. It was organized, labeled, time-stamped down to the minute. I'd started calling it the timeline in my head. Text to me. Going to Mom's. Ride receipt to Volt Street. Photo from Marta's story. Chat logs with Night Owls group. HR alibi request. Second phone messages. When I looked at it all together, the pattern was so clean it almost impressed me. She'd been running this routine long enough to make it seamless. But seamless things fall apart faster when you know exactly where the seams are. I didn't tell her I was going to her mom's that weekend. I didn't tell her I'd invited Oksana to lunch. I wanted her there when we laid the whole thing on the table. Because the next step wasn't gathering. The next step was showing. Sunday lunch at Oksana's felt like stepping into a theater just before the curtain goes up. The table was already set. Salads in glass bowls, chicken roasting in the oven. Oksana greeted me with a hug that lasted 1 second longer than usual, like she was bracing for something. Lena was in the kitchen, stirring dressing, smiling like this was just another weekend. I sat opposite her, the chair legs scraping on the tile. We made small talk about the weather, about Oksana's garden, about a neighbor's new dog. My heart was steady. My hands for once didn't betray me. When we started eating, I reached into my bag and pulled out a thin, neatly stacked sheaf of papers. The first page was a title, Friday, February 9th, Timeline. I placed it in the center of the table. Oksana's eyes dropped to it immediately. Lena kept chewing, then glanced down, and froze. "What's this?" she asked, her voice sharp at the edges. "Facts," I said simply. "From the night you said you were here with your mom." She laughed, but it was brittle. "You're being dramatic." I turned the first page. 2007. You text me. Going to Mom's for a reset. 2141. You book a ride from our building to address, 3 blocks from Volt. 2158. Arrival. 2207. Bar receipt for 2 cocktails. 2219. Marta's story shows you in the club, paper wristband visible. 22:35. Photo з тобою з Сергієм Y. Slid each printout forward as I spoke. Screenshots, receipts, maps, photos. Her fork clinked against her plate. "You've been spying on me? I've been listening to you," I said. "And your story didn't match the timestamps." Oksana reached for the papers, flipping through slowly, her lips pressing tighter with each page. "Is this true?" she asked her daughter. Lena's eyes flashed toward her. "He's twisting it. Sir, he's been bothering me. I didn't want to worry you." "You asked me to lie for you to HR," I interrupted. "That's not about protecting anyone. That's about covering yourself." Her voice rose. "You're controlling, Evan. You keep track of my movements, you—" "No," I said evenly. "I keep track of my own sanity. And when someone's words and actions don't match, I start writing them down." Oksana set the stack down, her hands trembling slightly. "Lena, I told you, small lies turn into big ones. I didn't raise you to—" She cut herself off, shaking her head. "I'm done," I told Lena. "You can tell whatever story you want to HR, to your friends, to yourself. But I'm not in it anymore. I'm not your alibi." The room went quiet except for the soft tick of the oven timer. Lena's mouth opened like she wanted to throw something. Words, accusations. But nothing came out. Oksana just looked at her, the weight of a mother's disappointment thicker than any anger. I stood, left the folder on the table, and walked out without taking my jacket from the hook. The cold outside felt cleaner than the air I'd been breathing in there. I didn't go back to the apartment that night. I'd packed a duffel earlier, left it in my car, and drove straight to a short-term rental across town. It was small. Just a bed, a desk, and a window that looked out onto a row of leafless trees. But the stillness felt like oxygen. I changed my passwords that night. Bank accounts, email, streaming services, the shared ride app. Each click felt like cutting another invisible thread. I left her keys on the kitchen counter at home earlier in the day, next to a note that just said, "You don't need me to cover for you anymore." The next morning, I sent an unmarked envelope to HR at her company. No accusations, no commentary, just a neatly organized packet. The timeline, the photos, the receipts, the messages, facts, with dates and times. Enough that even the cleanest lie would trip over them. 2 days later, Marta called. "You're out of it now?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Good," she replied. "Sir, he's already under review. Someone else must have said something too. Lena. She's not handling it well. I don't need the updates," I said. though part of me was relieved. Not because I wanted revenge, because it meant the truth had its own momentum now. Weeks passed. I saw Lena once more, by accident, on a crowded street. She was with friends I didn't recognize. Her laugh loud, her coat the same deep red she used to save for nights out. She didn't see me, or maybe she did and just decided I was part of the scenery now. One evening, I met Marta for coffee. She looked lighter, like she'd put something down she'd been carrying for too long. "I'm sorry for not telling you sooner," she said again. "You did," I told her. "Eventually. That's more than most people." When I got back to my place, I deleted the weekend plans folder. Not because I'd forgiven her, but because I didn't need the proof anymore. The truth wasn't in the files. It was in the way my chest didn't tighten every time my phone buzzed. It was in the quiet that didn't feel like waiting. Lena had built an alibi out of me. I'd been the safe base, the calm background she could return to between nights that didn't match her words. But alibis only work if you're willing to stand still forever. And I wasn't. Not anymore.